I'm actually wearing shorts right now too.
I was told I didn't need to.
And then
No.
Rafran says everybody better be wearing pants and preferably awesomely colored pants. But she spelled
That's only in public.
she spelled colored without a U, so.
Yeah. All right, we are live right now. So right now, everybody, you're watching Carl Lindgren Striker eat some pasta, finishing up his from his walk. He has to carb load, I think. Is that what you have to do, Carl?
No, walk wasn't that long.
It was windy though.
It was windy, that's true. It's not raining here anymore, though, which is nice.
It's raining here.
Oh, are we getting echoes already? Can you guys hear that?
No.
I can hear it a little bit, but I think whenever we're not talking, we should just mute our mics.
Eat some pasta, finishing up his from his walk. He has to
And someone's got to shut off the Hangout, or like the event page or whatever.
Okay.
Is that you?
I think so. Let me see.
Now we can't even hear.
That better?
Is that better?
I think it's better.
I've not heard an echo at all, so.
Okay, that was me. It was me. My bad.
All right.
All right. Jonathan Samuelson, edit here. Hello and welcome to Techlandia. How are you doing today? I am John Samuelson, honorary Canadian, but I'm in Portland right now, and we will introduce the Americans first. Down in California, we have the lovely, the talented, the one, the only...
John, typical American hegemony to worry about us first.
That's right.
When we're only claiming half of the people on the show, I expected more from you, to be honest. My name's Carl. I teach world history to 9th and 10th graders in the Bay Area, and I'm excited because it's Spirit Week at my school this week, and I got to wear pajamas to school today and call it Spirit Week, and that was a real bonus for me on a Monday.
Can you tell us about your pajamas, please, before we continue to introduce other guests?
It consisted of a hoodie and some basketball warm-up, those like Adidas warm-up pants that
How is that pajamas?
well, I mean,
Like that doesn't make any sense.
okay, so what would you wear for pajama day if you were teaching and had to be, publicly accountable for what you were wearing?
Right. Well, okay, then I'd go buy out myself a pair of proper pajamas.
Such as
I don't know, like
a onesie?
people wear pajamas before. Like I know I'm aware of what they're like. They're like flannel like things and a deal. The other thing I would wear I have a nice monogrammed robe that my wife gave me for Christmas. I could wear that too.
Ooh.
I was trying
Had
to
a
get.
nice monogrammed robe, I would have worn it.
I was trying to get the Packers sweatshirt out of you, but anyway.
Oh, whoops.
Carl, I can't believe you expected more out of me. Just getting back to what you said before, you should expect less. Okay.
Now we know.
And up in Canada, we have the lovely, the talented, the one, the only, Ms.
Victoria Olsen. I'm in Vancouver, though. I wasn't sure who you were going to lead in there.
Oh, okay. So I know it's hard today. It's hard to lead in all these people. And we are very happy to have our special guest today. He is a legend in the discovery education field. He is going to come on tonight, and he is going to talk about things that are just bugging him. And I love that topic. Will you please introduce yourself, Mr.
Dean Shareski. I am here from Canada. Yes, I am the community manager for Discovery Education. I am also a teacher. I teach adjunct for the University of Regina, also at Wilkes University. What else? Got 2 dogs, bunch of kids. There. What else?
That's all you need.
And
Glad we
then-
got your
so
job out
much
there, because
more.
I actually wanted to know what the official job was, and I guess that maybe the pluralness of it was what was confusing me.
The pluralness of what? Of all the stuff I do?
Yes, that.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Yeah.
And also the proud owner of many different colors of bright pants.
I do. I have several of those pair. Yeah.
That's very good. All right. Robin does McKenzie for you. Take off to the Great White North. Little Geddy Lee right there.
All right. Love it.
All right.
That's what I imagine the 70s felt like.
You should hear
it's
that song.
Actually, the 80s, but that's okay.
Oh.
It takes so long to get to the chorus of that song because it's just Bob and Doug riffing the whole time. You know, it's not even really a song. They just talk and then they kick it over to Geddy Lee, who sings the chorus. It's pretty good. Good stuff. Dean, we were going to talk today, and on Techlandia now, we just like to let you go ahead and riff a little bit. And you've got an interesting topic. You've got some terms.
Actually, and I would like to lead this in with, education's filled with a lot of buzzwords, and I just kind of said these are words that are a bit too ubiquitous for Dean's liking.
I saw that joke. That was pretty funny.
Okay. Anyway, so Dean, do you want me to feed you one of them, and then you can just,
feed.
It can be like.
And whatever. I don't want to do I could do like a 20-minute rant, but I don't think that's really great.
But we could do it like.
I'll pass it back to you.
The "You Know What Grinds My Gears" like Family Guy segment, like you could do that.
There you go.
I would love a 20-minute rant personally, but go ahead.
Okay, let's start with future ready.
So future ready, actually, it's been a big I think the U.S. It's a federal thing, and hold it. Did I see Refrans was here?
Yeah, she's watching, and there's quite a bit of commentary. You're drawing quite a few questions here.
Okay. So I think she attended one of these Future Ready things, and as part of Discovery Education, we have hosted Future Ready events. So this is a big deal, right? This is about the whole let's reform schools and let's think about the future and all that good stuff. And it is good stuff. There's nothing inherently wrong about it, but it sort of over time, it seems to, and it can create this sense of everything is about what's going to happen next, and everything is about tomorrow, and everything is about someday we'll get to that. And especially in education, I think there's a real lack of mindfulness and appreciation for right now. Like right now is pretty good, and specifically to this point. And I've included in the last couple of presentations. There was a kindergarten class in New Jersey, I believe, that canceled their Christmas program, whatever they had, because the principal said, these kids, we have to prepare these kids for a future, and we don't have time to include this stuff because it's and they used the phrase future ready, I think, in this letter to parents explaining why they had to cancel this program. And I mean, it was really just sort of struck me as that's a very common way in which people think about the future and preparing our kids for this unknown world, and all of the almost angst, and yes, sometimes mixed with excitement about the future. To me, I just think there's some real value in, today's actually pretty good, and enjoying today, whatever today is a big deal. And particularly I see with my own kids, who are, they range from 16 to my oldest is 20, 28, 27. They all have this sense of, well, if I just get past this next phase of life, they're constantly looking for the next thing as opposed to just enjoying. Like, what about right now? How can you not be so fascinated with the future that you could just enjoy today? So that's part of my rant as I let my dogs out.
That's funny. Hey, I was going to ask you, this kind of goes with one of my themes, and this is open to everybody. Has anybody on tonight, the panel, seen the movie Boyhood and how great it is? Have you seen that one, Dean?
It's in my queue. I'm going to watch it, but I haven't actually seen it yet.
Okay, it kind of actually goes with what there's nothing I'm going to spoil, but the very ending of the movie is almost what you're talking about when it kind of goes, and they were talking about like the moment, and sometimes I do think that's a problem. I want to know, I mean, Future Ready's all great, but what are we going to do right now? What's the actions right now that we need to take? I like to see results, and I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. I'm going to end up going to with Mr. Technology, and we're going to go to a Future Ready conference here pretty quick in Vancouver, Washington. So we'll see what it's a little bit more about. But right, I always would like to know, what are we doing right now to help people? I would like to help people right now.
Yeah, and to me, it's still about just the fact that how do we build in both a sense of purpose and future looking, but as well embracing and kind of being content. And I know contentment is almost like a dirty word. Well, you should never be content, never be satisfied with where you are or what's happening. I mean, it's all about growth mindset and all those things, which again, I am not arguing that's a bad thing. I'm just saying whenever you go so far the other way, it sort of negates the fact that what about, like, what we're doing today is actually a good thing, and how do we enjoy it and celebrate the moments that we have, as opposed to a constant thinking ahead. And it really does tie into the whole idea of mindfulness. There was a wonderful piece on 60 Minutes about a month ago that looked at that exact same thing, about how most of us are constantly thinking about what we're going to do tomorrow. Like, I'm not even talking about future 100 years from now. I'm talking about tomorrow. The fact that, right now you're thinking about, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, instead of actually just enjoying the fact, look, there's 4 people from all over the world who get to sit and chat with each other. That's pretty cool. Like, this is pretty good right now. Like, let's not worry about the next thing. Let's just say this is pretty awesome right here.
Yeah, I think there's a big piece to be said for mindfulness, and there's quite a few ties into social emotional learning that are finally, I think, getting recognized in the classroom. And a lot of that work, at least out here in British Columbia, I was in one of the social emotional learning cohorts, and this was a really big part of our experience in our educational program, was just being aware of the whole child and getting kids to stop and appreciate the moment and live in that moment, and like you're saying, celebrate successes and understanding failure and stuff like that. So, and
there's been some really nice things. I know that in British Columbia in particular, that I think with the whole thing with self-regulation and some of that stuff, it actually is being taught more explicitly there than I think just about anywhere. So I'm really, because I've asked, and I know a lot of teachers are actually building that into their curriculum for kids just to pause, sit back, enjoy sort of what's around you, what's here, what's now. And again, that's not, it's just the notion of future ready. So this wasn't so much a pushback against the future ready things that people are doing. I'm not trying to say that's a bad thing. So I'm just saying, anytime you put that emphasis on things, you sometimes forget, and sometimes you send the message unintentionally that today sucks. Today is bad and today sucks. Tomorrow is going to be great, but today's not very good. And I just think, that's not the right message. I don't think.
I hear you on that, and I completely agree with regard to students. I want my 9th graders this year, I want them focused on what they're doing now. I want them excited about now, not worried about going to college. I am concerned, though, about it, and I know, obviously, I'm more familiar with the American school system, but I personally am pretty concerned with the pace of change in the U.S. and even the lack of change in the U.S. So how do you go about exacting a little bit of pressure, putting a little bit of pressure on adults to say, hey, we need to be better, while sheltering the kids and saying, you need to worry about being 15 in my student's case?
Yeah, that's a great point, Carl. Like, and I think you kind of nailed it, that you're telling the kid, enjoy being 15. You're only going to be 15 for a little while. You're only going to be 7. Don't be worried when you're 7 thinking about what you're going to be. And I mean, they naturally will. It's not something that kids are always thinking about that. And I just think and every child's different too, right? I mean, there's a lot of kids who are 15 going on 30. There's other kids that are 15 acting like they're 9 and they need to kind of grow up. I think it's a slightly different conversation. I guess the one thing that I used to think about was this too. Like, when I worked at the district level, I knew there were big problems in the system and things that just weren't right and had to be changed, and wanted things to move faster. And I just felt like, you know what? This was just my own little approach. I thought, I'm going to spend 20% of my time focusing on those big things that need to be changed and advocating for faster change. But I'm going to be spending 80% of my time on what I can do today, right now, that actually makes a difference. And that, I mean, I have no idea if that's an appropriate way to think about it. But I love what you just said about making sure the kids know, be 15, enjoy what it's like to be 15. But, I mean, you're still, as an adult, you're having conversations about the future. It's not like I'm saying, oh, don't worry about tomorrow. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, as a society, I think in our efforts, always bigger, better, faster. I mean, it was really interesting, just as a completely side thing, but this is sort of how my brain works. There was a wonderful documentary on yesterday called Keepers of the Streak. These were 4 photographers who photographed every single Super Bowl. They'd been to all 48 Super Bowls, and they were talking about sort of at the beginning to the end. And one of the things they were really frustrated with in today's Super Bowl is that the lack of access they had. When they first started filming, of course, they could go anywhere on the sideline. They got all these great shots. And now when they go to a game and film with so many people on the sidelines, after the end of the game, they almost always will say, I got nothing. Because they just, like, they almost wish, they basically said, I wish it would be smaller. And what struck me about when they said, I wish it would be smaller, I thought about, you know, our constant obsession with, we got to make it bigger, better all the time, in everything. And what if there's some things that don't need to get bigger? What if there's some things that we don't have to change? What if there's some things that are good the way they are right now, and we should just enjoy that? We're talking about specifics, so I'm making very generalized statements here, but I just think there's a mindset of constant growth, constant change, constant getting better, bigger all the time. When, well, wait a minute, what about, this is pretty good right now, you know? Not everything, obviously, but some things, good. Leave it alone. Don't touch it.
I think the other thing, I'm just kind of watching the Q&A as well, and a couple of people, Will Chamberlain made a comment about, can you expect every kid to be excited about every lesson every day? I'm not excited about everything I do every day, and I don't think that's the point either, personally, just from what I'm hearing. It's just being able to recognize that you're in the moment you're in, and not to always be moving on to the next thing and the next thing.
That's what I think about. And I just think about the fact that, you know, I'm trying to, I mean, you reach a certain age, ladies and gentlemen, you reach a certain age where you begin to appreciate, I mean, you just begin to appreciate every single day, every opportunity you have. And I mean, I'm not as good at it as I should be. I want to get better at it, but I know I'm getting better at saying, you know what, I know I got tons of stuff to do tomorrow. I know next month I got all this travel to do. And it kind of goes, I talk a lot about not being busy, not telling everybody how busy I am, because I just think that's a really annoying habit that we have. And it's part of that, you know, it's part of that frantic, you know, unsettled kind of, and I just want us to, as a society, sometimes to just slow her down a little bit.
Okay. And on that note, I want to ask you then about another word that's kind of, I think, is really linked to this idea, and that word is rigor, and it's one that I've had many an online argument about. And I know that there's a ton of different definitions for similar words, but the way that I view it is that rigor should be a painful process, that it should be just all-encompassing, thorough, raking you through all of the possibilities of what some learning can look like, whatever content is associated with that learning. So go on rigor.
So this is probably 10 years ago, and I'm sure if you, I'm afraid to, but I'm sure if you look back on my blog, I remember hearing William Daggett, if you know who that person is, he actually comes with a fair bit of controversy himself, but he still is doing his deal is rigor, relevance, and what's the last one? It's 3 R's, whatever. Can't remember the third R. I hate it so much. And at the time, when I first heard it, I thought, oh yeah, this is really good. This is what I want. And then it was really an article by Alfie Kahn who wrote about the cult of rigor and the loss of joy, and I've held on to that article, and I share that one often as really competing ideas. And while people say, oh, they don't have to be competing, they are. I mean, rigor, it's that word. It's a word that, to me, first of all, it's not about what I think of the word. Look at the definition. Just, I mean, you don't even, like, people say, well, it can mean different things. I mean, if we want to start changing definitions of words, then I think we might as well throw out the dictionary right now and just say, well, I want to call this a boo-boo, you know, because I decided that's what I want to call it. I mean, that's not what it is. Rigor has a definition, and it's not very good. It's not a very good word around learning. And I understand what people are trying to say. They want it to mean challenging. They want it to mean deep learning. I get that's what they want to say. It's just not a very good word to describe that. And the reason why I think words are so important is because of the connotations that it brings about. It is about inflexible. It is about rigid. It is about preciseness. And while there are probably some kinds of learnings that require preciseness, there are some kinds of learnings that are inflexible. I don't think as a community, as an institution, that's the best word that we can use to describe learning. It doesn't, like the quote I read the other day, and I'll share it probably on Thursday when I talk, is when I hear the words rigor and grit, I think of cleaning a toilet, not inspiring a kid. And it's just a word that I think, get rid of it. Find a different word to mean what you say, because that's just a crappy word.
It's speaking of cleaning toilets. And William Chamberlain just actually linked those two words in the Q&A, so I'm sure he'll be happy that he won Buzzword Bingo. But Dean, I totally hear you. One of my biggest pet peeves is messing up equity and equality, and I think that people use them incorrectly. It's one of those semantic things. I understand what you're trying to say, but you're not saying it correctly, and I just kind of want to throw things at people when they do that. I don't, though.
Yeah.
For the record, the at least Google definition of rigor is the quality of being extremely thorough, exhaustive, or accurate, severity or strictness, and demanding difficult or extreme conditions.
Yeah, and again, there's probably aspects of that I like. It's just, what is it about that word that we feel so compelled to use? I just think there are way better ways to describe what we want the learning experience to be. Because if difficulty and challenging, and that's the other thing is, and I wrote a blog post a couple months ago called "Is hard the goal of learning? Is that what makes good learning?" Well, when it's really hard, I don't think so, because I think there's a lot of really good learning that's actually easy, that's enjoyable, that's pleasurable, that isn't difficult. Some is, yes, there's always a time for that, but I don't know that is sort of the penultimate way in which we should, it was really hard. I mean, you hear people talk about, I took this, university professors might be a good example. This course is so challenging, like only half of you are going to pass it. Like that's like a point of pride that this class is so difficult. That's not what I want in my learning. I'm not interested in you making, failures out of half the people. Yeah, in some cases there are going to be times where you have to be pushed and it is really difficult, but as a rule, I don't think that's what lifelong learning is about. I think that's an aspect of it. It happens. I mean, if you really want to do something challenging and rigorous and difficult, have kids memorize a phone book. Very difficult, very rigorous, very challenging, but crappy learning. So, I mean, it doesn't do it for me. Sorry.
All right. And let's go to a different side. And this is one that I'm very interested to hear about, because this is, I think, I want you to change my mind on this. Maybe I want to be challenged. I've always been a proponent for just owning failure and owning the fact that I make mistakes and that that's part of my learning process, and making sure that I show kids, especially kids who have anxiety issues. I know we touched on the social emotional learning aspect earlier, just to let kids know that we are all human and that we all make mistakes and that it's okay. And I think embracing that and showing that process of how you move on from it is really important, and I think it's very imperative to model, particularly at the level that I teach at in lower elementary. So tell me why embrace failure is on your list of things.
That one is more just because I don't even know what it means anymore. Like it's one of these ones that just gets used so much. I don't know what people mean by embracing failure. Like I am with you. I think you're right, Victoria, that I think modeling mistakes and vulnerability is good, is fine. But I don't know. I don't know what to. I don't know where that goes or what exactly people mean. If that's all people are talking about when they say embrace failure, is just being accepting of people's mistakes and allowing kids to try and get back up, yeah, I don't. That's going to be difficult to argue. I suppose where I find this really interesting, where this to me gets really interesting, is let's talk about the term failure in the way it typically is meant in schools, and that is not being successful in a particular course. I'm not talking about an activity or a project or an assignment. I'm talking about a kid actually failing a course for whatever reason that happens. I think that's a really interesting situation, because I think if we want to have kids sort of embrace and own and be empowered to learn, then they also have the right to own and embrace that failure if they so choose. And again, as educators, our job is to create environments where they have the most opportunities to be successful. But in spite of all of the awesome stuff we might do, and I think there's always going to be kids for whatever reason. Sometimes there's outside circumstances, sometimes there's internal struggles, sometimes it's like there's probably a lot of reasons why a kid says, I'm not interested, I am not going to put forth effort, and thus I have failed. And I think we have to be okay with that. And as schools, we really struggle with that. Like that we can't let kids fail, we can't do that stuff. And I kind of go like, but maybe that's a good thing. Like maybe that's, and I don't mean it, and I don't want to be punitive about it. I'm not saying, well, kids deserve what they get. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about if we actually are going to say, we're actually going to get kids to own learning, to be empowered to learn, they have to also be empowered to mess up and make mistakes. And again, our job is not necessarily to pass judgment on that. We need to be there to help the kid get back up. But in that sense, I think it's really interesting, because a lot of people say, well, a lot of people disagree with me and say we shouldn't be letting kids, that shouldn't happen, we shouldn't let them, we should be, doing whatever we have to save them and all this other stuff. And I just think sometimes let them go. I know that's probably not the popular.
So we're looking at failure in this case then as encompassing a whole. So,
I don't know. That's
because I think you're absolutely right in that has gained some traction in the educational world as we look at the microcosms of failure that happen in our practice or in our classrooms for students. I think we take a look at, I'm going to try this thing, and maybe it has technology, or maybe it's this new pedagogical approach, or maybe it's passion-based learning, whatever you're trying, and it's okay to not be really good at it right away. And I think that's the message that's kind of out there, or at least that's how I'm interpreting it. But I think that we forget the word failure might be, perceived differently outside of the educational realm.
That's a good point too, because we start using that word, and again, we might know internally what we mean, but when that word gets sort of into the lexicon more, it may have connotations that other people just aren't comfortable with. So what you're talking about, Victoria, about what you do as a teacher in a classroom and allow kids to be able to make mistakes and try all those things, that's powerful. I mean, that's what good teaching and learning has happened all the time. I mean, that's what it is. Mm-hmm. So, and yet I know that maybe not every teacher does that, so it's important. It's still an important thing to discuss. I just think I'm never quite sure when someone says, "Oh, we should embrace failure," if that's what they mean, or do you mean something else, or I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, and Will Chamberlain, who's watching and putting a lot into the Q&A right now, says failure implies quitting because you only fail when you stop trying. I prefer using the word attempt # because words mean things.
And what if quitting is okay? Like, is quitting sometimes okay?
I mean, I quit I wanted to go into all these different social studies classes when I was in high school, and I got into economics, and I hated every moment of that class. And I was like a totally distinction role student, like all of the things that you could possibly be in high school. And I got into this class, and I couldn't wrap my head around anything that they were presenting. And it was just kind of like, I don't think it was bad teaching. Like, we were learning the same, like, I mean, I was good at school, but, you know, I learned the same way I did in all my other classes. It just wasn't something, it wasn't for me. And, you know, who knows where it might have led me if I would have done it. Maybe I'd not be in education.
But you see how the mantras of education can get skewed, because you might also hear something, oh, you know, never be a quitter. Quitters are, you know, horrible, all that stuff. And so then a kid feels compelled to be doing something they shouldn't be doing or whatever. Like, when sometimes, you know what, quitting is an awesome thing to do once in a while. This is not my thing. And it's all about context, right? It's all about, it depends. And it's about the relationships of your parents, of your teachers, of your friends, who might see things maybe the way you don't and can advise you, maybe you should quit, maybe, you know, all of the things. So the whole absolute thing, I guess that's what I really, because I'm always, when I hear a statement, all kids should, or all schools should, or whatever the statement is, I always kind of go, wait a minute, that's very dangerous. There are very few absolutes. And you know, often my beef around a lot of these things is the fact, and Twitter is horrible for this, is pithy phrases and quotes, right? That just sounds so good. Oh, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm sure I tweet stuff that, you know, I look at it and people think, oh, that's, you know, that's really clever or whatever, and I look at it and say, it's probably not that smart, or there's probably, you know, poke holes in it. It's not absolute. But in a 140 character world, you know, we cling to little quotes and sayings and mantras. And for some people, and again, even myself, sometimes those little quotes or phrases are useful and helpful. But I also know at the same time, you know what? There's exceptions, like the whole thing with quitting. Yeah, sometimes you should absolutely quit. You know, I mean, it's the whole thing too. Like, and John, I think we talked about this on our Voxer sports group one time about, you know, knowing that some people are never, like, the whole idea of telling kids, oh, you can be anything you want to do. That's a bunch of crap.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be everything you want to be. I can't do all the things I want to do or would like to do. I just can't. And that doesn't make me, you know, have a fixed mindset. It doesn't make a let of it. It's just it's the reality of it. And that's not a bad thing. I don't feel ashamed of that. I don't feel bad about that. There's things I'm good at and there's things I'm not, and I'm okay with that.
I think there's sometimes with the quitting thing, I think that there's a lot of times when I was younger where I was in a bad relationship with a girl and I should have quit that relationship a lot earlier, and it would have saved me a lot of trouble. That's all I'm saying. Hey, Dean, I want to play a little word association with you before we go. I'm going to give you some words. I want you just to kind of, first thing that pops into your mind, okay? Ready?
Oh my. Okay, wait. I have to get in a mindset.
Yeah, get out of the serious mindset now. We're getting out of you're done with your rigorous questioning. Now we're going to go
right.
to...
Hey, John, before you start, just give Dina a second to get ready. So Kurt Reese wants to know if he failed Techlandia or if he quit Techlandia.
Kurt definitely quit. Kurt definitely quit Techlandia. And,
should he have quit? Was that a good move on his part?
Yeah, it was, because now he upgraded and he's doing a podcast with Joe Mazza. So, yeah, he traded us in. Traded Allison and I in. Sold us out. He went for the big bucks. All right, here we go. Ready? All right, first term. Tim Hortons.
Mediocre coffee.
Ooh, okay. Hockey.
Used to be a big deal to me, not as much anymore.
Canadian Football League.
Rough Riders or It's Dead to Me.
Woo!
Okay, here's the most important one. George Couros.
Tall, bully, really nice wife. I don't know how he pulled that off.
Yeah, how do you do that?
But, okay, and he's not listening to this, so it won't matter. Really, really very good speaker, good blogger. Happy to have him represent Canada and education. But cut that out of the.
Yeah, we'll edit there. John, edit there.
Edit here.
Yeah.
Better taste in music, you or Couros?
Okay, like, he just likes anything that's new. Like, he gets sucked into any new thing. He has no sense of taste or tradition. Like, if it's new, he loves it. It doesn't matter what it is. So that's not very good.
Yeah, and he makes fun of you for liking like classic
Hey,
songs, right?
mine's proven the test of time. Like, if he's still listening to Justin Bieber when he's 50 years old, we'll talk. But he isn't gonna be. No one is. So there you go.
I know he's a pretty big believer.
Well, he's I think he's toned down that a little bit. But I mean, he is into a lot of new. Yeah.
That's good. I just wanted to give you your fair shot at Kuros back because he had been giving it to you a little bit. You know?
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah, absolutely.
George, we love you. All right, so Dean, thanks for being on and talking about those things. I love we have our new podcast where Scott Bedley and I talk and grumpy old teachers. That's kind of what we do. So that's our whole new podcast. We just sit there and just say what's on our mind. It's like a Voxer out in the open.
Well, I have to say, I really feel like this is a pity ass that you had me on. Like, you just felt sorry for me. So to get the guy on, and then it's out of the way. Like, I know you're not even recording this, so like I know no one's which is fine. That's fine. It's not an ego thing. I just thought, well, maybe I could get on Techlandia someday, and put that on my resume.
The assistant who runs your Twitter account put out like 5 cries, so I was assuming that maybe your voice was behind that.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to get on, but I just thought, well, whatever. And actually, I am disappointed. Like, why Kurt isn't here?
Well, we have Carl though. Carl's
where's Teddy?
Very fine person. Where's who?
Teddy.
There's
Allison.
Teddy.
Sorry there.
Teddy's been they've been given those two have given me the hi-hat now. They've just dismissed me and pushed me off to the side. I don't even know them anymore. In fact, when they come up to IPDX, I don't even know if we'll speak. I don't even know if any of us are on speaking terms right now.
Wow, that's sad. Yeah, actually,
it's like the Beatles.
The rest of us are just sloppy seconds. So
that's right.
I mean, you guys are you're the new lifeblood of Techlandia.
These are my saviors right here. I've got.
That's the other way of looking at it.
No, I mean, I just thought, well, with things getting bigger, they need all these people, and the whole thing is expanding. So obviously, but I didn't realize all this rift.
Oh, it's a rift. It's a scene, man. Dean, you know what? You, like George Kuros, can come on any single time you want. You can call special shows. I think Joe Mazza one time called a special show. If I would have known that he was calling that special show so he could steal Kurt away, then I don't know. I might not have, but
okay. So, you mean like if I just have something I need to get off my chest?
Yes. If you want to come and grump, you come over to send me a DM.
That could happen too often. I don't think you want to have that open.
No, I don't know. That's why Scott Bedley and I, we podcast like twice a week so we can get it away from us. It's good. It's out there.
Well, it's good timing because my wife and daughter upstairs are watching they recorded The Bachelor, so that's what they're watching right now. So this
it's a good time.
So you could talk for another hour.
Yeah,
I know, Dean. We could talk to you for another hour. Dean, tell us some of the conferences that you're coming up with real quick before you go. That you're going to or speaking at.
This week I am at the Catholic. Oh, I don't know the title of it, but it's Catholic Catholic Districts of Vancouver area. So I'm speaking at their conference on Thursday. And then, actually, I'm taking a week off and I'm coming to San Francisco and LA with my wife and daughter, Carl. There you are.
There you go, Carl.
And, but we'll be by your house sometime Friday night.
For apps, you can have a Lauer's Friday Night Pizza South at Carl's house.
There you go.
I'll have some appies ready.
Nice. So where am I going after that? I don't have very many. Well, I have a couple. I'm going to be doing an ASCD in Houston in February. We're going to do something really nice for the Canadian folks that are there. So hopefully there'll be a number. And Amanda C. Dykes is going to be there. I found out. So she's going to be an honorary Canadian. I was told by her. It just the bill gets filled up sort of throughout the year, but a lot of just cool, interesting stuff. I'm also on a board of directors for CEA, which is the Canadian Education Association. So there's some interesting things that go with that, fun stuff and interesting things, and Just doing the discovery stuff in different form. We're doing another one of, and Victoria didn't come to my Ignite session that I had in Vancouver. She was an invited guest and turned me down. I said, "You need to come and speak," and she said, "Nah, I got other stuff to do."
Yes. To avoid the word busy, it was the end of term, at least for my master's stuff.
So she didn't. But we're doing another one of those. We had some really good success with that. We're actually doing one Wednesday in Coquitlam, and then I'm hosting one in Ottawa at the end of the month too. They're really fun events. So excited to be able to host another one of those and just other stuff.
That's good. You know what? When you're down in Houston, call it Houston. That's what we call it down in Texas, Houston.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I think you're steering me wrong.
No, I'm not. We call it Houston. That's what we say. If we're in Austin, we say, "Hey, we're going to Houston." It's like our little cute term for Houston.
Yeah, then they'll beat me up if I say that.
I don't know. I don't know. Who's really going to beat you up in Houston? Maybe Jake Duncan. I don't know. There's not very many unsavory characters in Houston. They're pretty nice down there. And that's where part of Boyhood was filmed. I suggest to anybody that is a parent, see the movie Boyhood. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes, yes. But sometimes so are Techlandia episodes, so there you go.
This is Clem.
Oh.
Clem. Do you need to go pee again? Probably.
Oh, Clem. All right, we gotta go. Clem's like, when is this show gonna end? Come on, Dad, let me outside. Dean, thanks for being on here. We really appreciate it. And anytime, like I said, I'm serious.
Anytime you need a guest, you're just sort of looking for. I can rant about a lot of things, so I didn't even talk about the passion, following your passion thing that I was going to.
Okay,
I know, we basically have to have a part 2 here.
Right, we're saving it for next time. I think that's good.
Are you drinking? What are you drinking right there? Is that Tim Hortons cup?
It's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cup.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And it's full of Mountain Dew.
Full of what?
Mountain Dew.
Oh wow! Isn't that like super caffeinated?
That's right. That's why
you're gonna be jacked up till
gives me
midnight.
an edge. Sometimes I can drink a whole Mountain Dew and just pass out and go to sleep.
And so yeah, on Wednesday I get to suck in PST for about 10 days. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
Best time zone in the world. Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Amen.
Yeah, Dean, while you're out here, feel free to call it California time, as it's popularly known.
Oh really?
Yes.
Yeah. Even when I'm in British Columbia?
Go for it there. I've heard Canadians are real nice and understanding.
Okay, I've never. And even is that how they feel out in Portland, calling California time?
Oh, yeah, John's all on board with it.
Yeah, I'm a full supporter of California time.
Okay, good to know.
All right, thanks for being on, Dean, and we will catch you on the flip side.
All right.